If you find yourself in need of legal representation, it can be a very stressful time in your life. In my career, I have dealt with thousands of lawyers, I've dealt with thousands of law firms, and I can confidently recommend to you Keith M. Davidson at kmdlaw.com. Available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Just log into kmdlaw.com. That's kmdlaw.com. Or you can call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. That's 833-4KMD-LAW. Personal injury, wrongful death, STDs, sexual assault, car accidents. They handle it all efficiently and professionally. It doesn't matter how imposing the opposition may be, because the team at kmdlaw.com are battle-tested and fierce. They will not stop until justice prevails. Go to kmdlaw.com or call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. If you're in for the fight of your life, stop screwing around and contact KMD Law.
Before Epstein was the Franklin cover-up. Before that, the Finders. And long before that, the Cleveland Street Scandal. Pedogate Primer is a concise intro and overview of a growing child abuse epidemic worldwide. It features shocking instances of institutionalized and organizational pedophilia throughout history. Churches, cults, the world of arts and entertainment, the government, NGOs, charities, and major corporations are all complicit or culprits in many instances. Pedogate Primer delves into material that for many may seem like the stuff of conspiracy theories. For this reason, the book draws on academic resources, declassified documents, and other reliable sources, and steers clear of conjecture. Such shocking true stories need no embellishment.
Emailrevealer.com. People ask me all the time, hey Ed, are you still a private investigator? I sure am. Go to emailrevealer.com. We handle adoption investigations, infidelity investigations, where you give us your spouse's email address. We trace it back to online dating websites, catch them cheating online. Email tracing, locate or identify somebody from as little as an anonymous email address. Someone owe you money? Back child support? We can find that deadbeat, locate his hidden assets, locate his hidden bank accounts, find his current place of employment, and even assist you in obtaining a judgment and recover that judgment for you. Emailrevealer.com. Digital forensics, computer forensics, cell phone forensics, recover deleted text messages. Create a report that you can use in court. Emailrevealer.com. 800-572-9762. The Opperman Report is brought to you by Aquadam.net. You can give them a call at 707-764-2119. A flooded home is never easy to deal with. You're left with the mess to clean up, the insurance companies to deal with, and not to mention all the memories, the precious memories that are lost in the flood. You can never replace those. And Aquadam can be a tool in your arsenal to protect your home and property from the floodwaters. The cofferdam is filled with water to control water and is reusable as long as it's taken care of. It can protect your home or business from rising floodwaters like a dam, but without the beavers. It can also be used in construction. If you need an area to be dewatered, an Aquadam can do the job. An Aquadam was used at SeaWorld in Orlando for the Mako roller coaster ride during the coaster's construction by dewatering the work area. An Aquadam is now dewatering the work area at San Antonio SeaWorld for their newest roller coaster ride. An Aquadam has been used in many construction projects all around the U.S. and all around the world. Now give Aquadam a call, 707-764-2119. You can look them up online at aquadam.net. You can find them on Facebook at Aquadam Inc. You call them up, you email them, you tell them Ed Opperman sent you, and they're going to take 10% off the price. Aquadam.net, 707-764-2119.
It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay. Welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. You could find me at Opperman Investigations and Digital Forensic Consulting, either through my website, or you can just email me directly at emailrevealer.com, at oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. I'm not even paying attention to what I'm saying. It's one of the worst weeks of my life, by the way, guys. This is a really horrible week in a lot of really different ways. Obviously the worst weeks of my life is all that stuff with the custody battle with Vic. but in different ways. This has just been a brutal, brutal week. If you like our show, be sure and check out our Patreon. Okay. I'm going to be uploading some new stuff tomorrow. Then what else? If you like our archives, you can find at Spreaker.com, Spreaker, Spreaker.com. And that's where you get a chat room and you get an email notification anytime I put up new content. Oof. Yeah, like I said, man, horrible week. And once again, like the main things on my mind I can't talk about because of these bizarre situations we have with these, But I did post earlier in the week as to say, look, man, we got to cut back on all these complaints and these annoying messages and emails and stuff like that. Otherwise, I can't continue to do the show or do any of this kind of work I'm doing for you. We got to, it's abusive, thinking you could just, berate me, all day long, every day. I got to wake up to some miserable message. I was blocking as fast as I can. Okay, so let's see. Coming up after this, I'm going to be interviewing Ian Totten, who's a true crime author and podcaster about Jimmy Savile. And we'll learn some new things there today when we did this interview. And then later on tonight, I'll be playing a show. I interviewed one of Elvis Presley's dancers, this woman who knew Elvis Presley, and she was hit on by Marlene Dietrich, knew Daryl Zanuck, freaking amazing stuff, man. So really good content there tonight for you. No complaints as far as that goes. Hey, guys. Okay. So let's see here. Let's get this other stuff out of the way, then we'll get into the old Chris Rock story. Okay. And a salt and pepper. It's assault. That's assault. Okay. Couple of things. A few weeks ago, first of all, I did a show about 2 weeks ago about the Hunter Biden laptop. And it's just gotten incredible response. So if you listen to that, you also got to listen to the show I did with John Kiriakou, the former CIA agent, who was at the same meetings about this laptop. He denies it, but it's clear what's going on here, what the pattern is of this whole story. So this is like super exclusive stuff. Nobody's touching on this the way I am, So I'm getting a lot of response from that show. Matter of fact, I'm going to send it to the stations. When I do a Friday night solo show, I don't send it out to the AM/FM stations. This is just for you guys. So that one I'm sending out. And this is more personal stuff and more intimate kind of a message for you. But a week or two before that, okay, I was working, I told a story about how I was working on this adoption investigation. This woman had given up 2 of her kids for adoption early on in her life, and we needed to locate where these children had been placed, the families that they were placed with. And because of certain circumstances in the case, I needed to make contact with the families first before I could hand her over the information. And these families told us, oh, boy, we paid $15,000. We paid $10,000. We paid. And I'm saying, what? I says, my client didn't get any of that money. I know for a fact she didn't get any money for this. She went to one of those crisis pregnancy centers, and they talked her into giving up the baby for adoption. There's no talk about money, money changing hands. So, who would you pay the money to? Turns out they both paid the money to the same law firm. In the news yesterday, okay, there's a big story. 5 fetuses removed from home of anti-abortion activist. This woman who had just done this bizarre sit-in at a family medical clinic, a family planning medical clinic, got arrested for that. And then the police got a call to her home in Washington, D.C. to investigate a tip about potential biohazard material. And when they went in and searched the place, they found 5 fetuses. So I'm telling you, this is not a black and white situation where okay, whether you're for abortion or you're anti-abortion or you're somehow pro-life or pro-fetus, but then, you want to starve the kids when they're born, you want to cut off their food stamps, and have no services for them whatsoever. So you're pro-birth, I'm telling you, there's trafficking and all kinds of shenanigans and all kinds of evil behavior on both sides of that issue. And I've done many, many shows about the adoption industry in the United States here. With these secondary adoptions, I don't even want to talk about them, but they're done with they're called failed adoptions, okay, or broken adoptions, okay? And then when these parents who adopt these kids and then they decide they don't want them, they put them on the secondary market, and there's very little paperwork. There's no vetting whatsoever. They're being handed over to child traffickers and people with sex offender convictions. No paperwork, no nothing. It's the bare minimal of paperwork that you could sign them up to school and you could take them to the doctor's office and put they have possession of these kids. It's really a crisis in this country. So keep an eye out for all that. 5 fetuses removed from an anti-abortion activist home. Okay, so I hope, and it's not like this woman and her activist organization came out with a press conference immediately to explain the possession of these fetuses. You know, what's the chain of custody in these things? You know, what's going on here? They seem to be, keeping quiet. The other big news for today is no new trial for Ghislaine Maxwell. Okay, so before we start doing backflips and cheering for that, she still has more appeal opportunities to appeal that what I believe is an error. Okay, and I believe she will have these get a new trial. I think she's going to get a new trial. Ultimately, she may do like 5 years or so, and then she'll come out. They'll give her a new trial for these errors in this trial here. So, but a short-term victory. At least we can cheer today. But that doesn't mean you relax, and you let up the pressure. As a matter of fact, I'm doing an interview with this fellow named Dylan, Mr. Dylan. What is this? Martin Dylan, who wrote the book, The Assassination of Robert Maxwell, Israel's Super Spy. And so I believe it or not, I contacted this guy like 8 years ago. And he agreed to come on the show, but I guess we dropped the ball and we never interviewed him. And so I found him again. He doesn't remember me. But he says, Ed, I'm happy to do an interview. I tend to turn down these interviews, but I was told that your program is a standout. So let me know what's the best time to schedule. So that was very complimentary. That made me happy. Imagine that. Someone who's talking to me who's not complaining and not wanting some kind of free work or give me a chore to do. Hey, Ed, fetch me this guy's phone number. Hey, Ed. What do you think of this guest you had on 10 years ago? Ed, Oh, God. All right. Let's start with assault and battery. Assault and pepper. Okay? Everybody's watching. I don't know if you've heard this or not, but there was this little incident at the Oscars where Will Smith marches up on the stage there first. I don't know if he cursed him out first and says, keep my wife's name out of your Emma effing mouth, or he said that after he slapped him or before he slapped him. And it's important to know what she did first, okay? And you start seeing all these people posting on Twitter and Facebook saying, that's assault. That's criminal assault. And I would be arrested for assault if I had done that, and this is an assault. Okay. There's some fascination here in the United States with that's assault. Okay? And if you touch me, that's assault. And if you touch me, I can defend myself. And then I'm going to attack you and beat you up and kill you. If you just touch me with your finger. That's the rule. It's like a home base line where two kids you draw a line in the sand, or you say, well, this is going to be home base. When I get here, I'm safe. Okay. People in America, the average person, okay, and you see this all the time in bar fights, or you see me on YouTube, people fighting on YouTube, these Karens and stuff like that. One of their main things that they love to yell out is, that's assault. If you touch me, that'll be assault. But guess what? That's not assault. Okay? That's not assault. An assault is an attempted battery, okay? Is where you attempt to put your hands on somebody violently, where you scream at them, you intimidate them, you approach them aggressively to put them in fear of their own life and of their safety, Okay? So if I were to see someone on the subway and I run up to them and I start getting in their face and screaming at them and pulling my fist back like I'm about to hit them, that's an assault. That right there is an assault. Okay? Now, when you have two people, now if I actually hit them, it's assault and battery. Okay? If I just walk up and hit them, it's just a battery. Okay? And by the way, battery is the more serious crime than assault. Did you know that? Okay? All right, because when I started trying to point this out to people and say, well, that's not an assault, it's a battery, because he actually hit him. The assault part was when he's cursing at him and marching up on the stage there in this threatening manner. Okay? So it was assault, and then it was a battery, which is why you often hear assault and battery. Okay. Right? So when I start telling people, hey, man, it's not an assault, it's a battery, people say, well, because people in their head think that assault is worse than a battery. Okay? Because I guess from TV and movies and stuff like that, when it was, it's a first-degree assault, a criminal assault, right? Assault with a deadly weapon. All this stuff, right? But it's not assault. It's a battery. Okay? All right? Now, you'll sometimes see these YouTube Karen videos, right, where they're both screaming at each other, okay? And if you touch me, that'll be assault. And then I'll be able to beat you up and do whatever I want to you because I'm in the legal right. Okay, I'm on home base. Okay, because you touched me with your finger, which is an assault. But they're screaming back and forth and making these threats that they're going to do this stuff to each other. Guess what? They're both committing an assault. They are both committing an assault against each other. Now, cops won't arrest under those conditions. And I say, well, we're going to arrest both of you for committing an assault on each other, okay? Because they don't want to be bothered with this crap. So unless you're really drunk and there's a problem, you're probably going to walk away, even if you call the cops yourself. So when you're screaming at each other that if you touch me, then I'm going to be able to break your neck and do whatever I want to, that's an assault. That's an assault right there. So if one person cowers down and backs down, if the cops come to you, right, and you says, hey, man, this guy's threatening me. He's swinging his arms around. There's spit coming out of his mouth. He's telling me he's going to kill me. He's going to do this. If I don't behave, I'm in trouble. The cops are going to ask you, well, are you in fear for your life? Are you afraid? And most people will say, no, I'm not afraid because if he touches me, then I'm going to defend myself. Right? But then you've just thrown away your case. Okay, now you're not going to get an arrest. When they ask you, are you afraid? You say, yes, I'm afraid. I'm so afraid. You have no idea. I'm afraid for my family, my friends. I'm afraid for my property. I'm terrified. Thank God you're here, officer. Okay, they love to hear that. Thank God you're here to rescue me, Superman. Okay, so you don't. That's how you want to handle that. Okay. So you got the two guys screaming, and they think that, well, if you just touch your finger against me, now I can pull out weapons and shoot you and hit you in the head with rocks and stuff like that in order to defend myself. Well, guess what? You're going to jail. Okay? If you think that the response to someone putting their finger on you and touching you, okay, and then suddenly now that you can go whoop and beat them into a bloody pulp and put them in the hospital, you're out of your mind. You are a criminal defendant at that point. You're getting arrested that night, I guarantee it. Now, the problem is, so many people listening to this, these right-wing characters will say, oh, Ed, this is Florida. We have stand your ground. I can stand my ground. And if someone comes up to me and they try and put their finger on me, legally I can shoot them, and it's safe to do that. I can do it if I want to. What's this? Okay. Now, but let me tell you what's going to happen in real life. I know the stand your ground law exists, okay, and I understand it a little bit better than you do. All right, I understand about self-defense. I understand about trespassing laws and all these things. See, because the other one people think you can do is they think that if you're in a dispute with somebody over the phone, okay, and the person says, hey, I'm going to come down there and knock on your door. We could talk about this in person, okay? If you come down here, I got my 357. I'm going to blow your head off, and I'm in the right because this is my property. And you're, okay, once again, you're a defendant. If you think you can shoot somebody for knocking on your door or even causing a little scene on your door, you're wrong. Well, Ed, it's self-defense. We have stand your ground. Here in Texas, we can do that. Okay, and this is what you think, okay? But what you'll read, okay, if you do that, okay, let's say the one thing, the guy puts his finger on you, and then you beat him down with your fist, you beat him into a pulp. What it's going to say in the newspaper the next day is, two men in a bar had a dispute, and one man severely beat the other. Okay? And you, Mr. Stand Your Ground, are going to read that and say, good, put him in jail, throw away the key. The prisons are too soft. The courts are too easy. What? Only 10 years? Okay? Because they're not reading it like, oh, a homeowner was defending his own. They're not going to read it. That's not what it's going to read like. You see these people saying, oh, I'm afraid to take the bus because there's so many crazy people and homeless people on the bus. Well, you should open carry then. You should carry. If you have an incident with a homeless person, you can shoot them. Okay, this is what people think. But if you're on a bus and some guy throws up on you, okay, is whatever, and you take out your gun and you shoot him, guess what? You're going to jail, okay? And what it's going to say in the jail is, 2 people on a bus had a dispute. One pulled out a gun and killed the other. Oh, my God, give him life. We should have the death penalty. You see, people love to put themselves in a position where they're against their own self-interest, okay? There's something fascinating about that going on in this country. Okay, so that's the 2 matters there with assault and battery. You can't shoot someone just for knocking on your door. You can't beat the crap out of somebody just because they touched you with their finger and assaulted you. Assault is an attempted battery. It's not an actual physical contact. A battery is an unwanted touching, which would be a battery. So hopefully we've learned something tonight, okay? Hopefully we've learned something tonight that can undo 10,000 hours of Karen YouTube videos, people screaming about that's assault and that's, and if you put a finger on me, I can defend myself, okay? Hopefully. I saved one guy from going to prison. I would love that. Okay. So, this doesn't end my material here about Chris Rock. Oh, yeah, okay. So let me tell you about the time I met Chris Rock. I was thinking about this. And I'm trying to think of how I'm going to tell you this story. Because I've told you a lot of this before. Do you remember the story I told you about that girl in Puerto Rico that I was dating? She was a Budweiser girl. She would hang out at the pool at the Condado Plaza and, I don't know, give away beer, I guess, something like that to promote Budweiser, Okay. So she had a really good job. She made a fun job. She had a happy life down there in Puerto Rico. And I went down for my niece's wedding. And I told this story before. And what happened was, the girl's name was Claire. Claudia. Claire. Okay, in English. And so what happened was, when I was down at the hotel down there in Puerto Rico, one day I went and I got a massage. In fact, I think I got a massage like 2 or 3 days in a row. And this woman that was giving me the massage, we had become very friendly. And at one point, she even did this thing that I've never had happen to me in a massage before. That where she climbed on top of me, like almost like this wrestling move, and like kind of like put me in this crawl hold, and like it's like stretching me out like that, And I said, "Oh, it's really unusual. No one's done this before." So I tell her, "Listen, my niece is getting married here in this hotel this weekend. I'm going to be down there. Why don't you come by, and we'll have a drink together? Because I'm down here without a date. I forget what happened when I went down to Puerto Rico without a date for this wedding. But I just went down without a date, whatever. So, but what happened was at the wedding, in the wedding party, because I was in the wedding party, was this girl, Claire. And we were sitting at the same table, As a matter of fact, this guy even rigged it so that we'd be at the same table. Because as soon as I saw her, I fell in love with her. And I remember giving her my business card. And she was staring at it for a long time, like, sizing me up and stuff like that. And I looked good. I looked good in those days. I was in great shape, had good clothes. All my hair wasn't gray yet. Okay. I had 2 good arms. Hey, what a week. So, it went very, very well. And so we're sitting there at the table, we're hanging out, we're drinking. And then at one point, we're dancing. And the groom shows up, and he comes behind me, and he taps me on the shoulder, and he says, "Ed, your other date is here." Okay. Now I don't change poker face. Okay. I don't change my expression. I look over at the table and I see the masseuse sitting at the table. She's all dressed up to it, all excited about this big date. But I don't miss a beat. Okay. I don't miss a step. Okay. In my dancing. Right. And after the dancing, the music stops. I says, "Oh, we have this other girl sitting at the table." And I says, "Excuse me, I need to talk to this woman here. I met her the other night. I invited her to come down for a drink. I just need to have a quick drink with her and talk to her for a second and give her the old heave-ho, right?" So this is the same girl who was with me when I tried to buy the Coke from Chris Rock. Okay, because what happened was we had this very passionate love affair. And the plan was, I think she was either coming down to visit. No, yeah, that was just a visit. That was a visit. That wasn't the move down. This poor girl, getting mixed up with me. Just probably the worst thing you could do if you're a woman. So what do you call it? We gotta find my notes up here. So on one of the trips down, I took her to Manhattan, to the comedy clubs, because I used to enjoy to go to the comedy clubs back in those days. Now, you know what? I still do, but I don't do it as much as I used to back in New York. It was really a New York thing. The New York comedy club scene is just different than anywhere else. I told you the story about Pips down there in Sheepshead Bay. And then that tragic coincidence about how when I moved to Las Vegas later on, I happened to see one of the guys who owned Pips at this restaurant in Vegas. And I went up to him, I started talking to him. I says, "Hey, he says, 'Oh, yeah, I used to own Pips.' I said, 'Oh, I used to go there all the time, but you're not the owner. I know the owner.'" And it turns out his brother was the other owner, and he had just committed suicide just like that month. It was really a tragic coincidence. I don't even remember his name now, but I did a whole show about it. So I take her to, I think it was the Comedy Cellar is where it was, okay, in New York City. And I recognize a couple of other comedians there, but then who is not headlining, but Chris Rock, okay? And this was around, it was before, it was around in the mid-'90s, like 95, 96. So Chris Rock, when you saw him, you recognized him already. You know who he was. You knew he was a comedian, but he wasn't the big superstar that he is now. And this is a small, intimate club. So, and he's like trying out new material before he takes it on the road to the bigger. He wasn't headlined or advertised to be coming in. He was working out new material. So, and he was doing real good. But when I noticed that Chris was having a little problem that night, okay? And that is that there was snot dripping out of his nostril. Almost to the point where it was like a little faucet. It was like draining out of his nose, okay? And like leaking down the front of his face. And he even went and he started taking the little coaster napkins, that they give you at a club or a bar. They put the little napkin down to put your drink on top. He started going to people's tables and taking this so he could wipe his nose, okay? But now that's not and there are some other signs to the glassy eyes and the different things like that, right? All right. So right away I noticed this. And this was a period of time in my life when I hadn't done any coke in maybe 15 years or something like that, or 20 years. But I've been out drinking. And I said, "Oh, there's a guy with some coke." I said, "I wouldn't mind having a little coke. Maybe a little pep in my step this evening here, my new girlfriend, down from Puerto Rico." So when we're listening to him do his routine, at one point, I guess I was stretching my arms or something at this table. We were right up against the wall. And I knocked over a painting that was on the wall of Adam Sandler. Okay. And he just kind of like made a big noise, And Chris Rock stares over, looks at me with this look of shock on his face. Like, what's going on over there? With this stuff dripping down his nose. He's trying to damn it, right? And he goes, "What are you doing? That's my buddy Adam Sandler. What are you doing over there?" Knocking the picture down. So that was my little first interaction with Chris Rock. So then, a couple more comedians come up, they come and they go. And at the end of the night, we're like kind of hanging out in front. And I recognized a couple of these guys, and I guess they recognized me, a little bit too. Oh, this guy's been around before. And so I was talking to a couple of comedians, and I was saying, boy, Chris was really having fun tonight. And I was kind of hinting around like, hey, I know he's got Coke. You think he could sell me some Coke? Like, where can I buy Coke? I'm trying to buy it. And then Chris Rock comes out. And so, and he remembered me. And so I kind of like sort of hinting around about, hey, where I get some Coke? But they all turned me down. I think they even started calling me officer for a bit there. So that's how I met Chris Rock. Knocked down a picture of Adam Sandler and tried to score some Coke for Mr. Chris Rock. Okay. It's assault. Let me see how we're doing on time here, because then it's right about time for a commercial break. It is commercial break. Thank God. Thank you, Lord. Okay, we'll be right back after these messages. And now a word from our sponsors. The Opperman Report is brought to you by Aquadam.net. You can give them a call at 707-764-2119. A flooded home is never easy to deal with. You're left with the mess to clean up, the insurance companies to deal with, and not to mention all the memories, the precious memories that are lost in the flood. You can never replace those. And Aquadam can be a tool in your arsenal to protect your home and property from the floodwaters. The cofferdam is filled with water to control water and is reusable as long as it's taken care of. It can protect your home or business from rising floodwaters like a dam, but without the beavers. It can also be used in construction. If you need an area to be dewatered, an Aquadam can do the job. An Aquadam was used at SeaWorld in Orlando for the Mako roller coaster ride during the coaster's construction by dewatering the work area. An Aquadam is now dewatering the work area at San Antonio SeaWorld for their newest roller coaster ride. An Aquadam has been used in many construction projects all around the U.S. and all around the world. Now give Aquadam a call, 707-764-2119. You can look them up online at aquadam.net. You can find them on Facebook at Aquadam Inc. You call them up, you email them, you tell them Ed Opperman sent you, and they're going to take 10% off the price. Aquadam.net, 707-764-2119. If you find yourself in need of legal representation, it can be a very stressful time in your life. In my career, I have dealt with thousands of lawyers, I've dealt with thousands of law firms, and I can confidently recommend to you Keith M. Davidson at kmdlaw.com. Available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Just log into kmdlaw.com. That's kmdlaw.com. Or you can call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. That's 833-4KMD-LAW. Personal injury, wrongful death, STDs, sexual assault, car accidents. They handle it all efficiently and professionally. It doesn't matter how imposing the opposition may be, because the team at kmdlaw.com are battle-tested and fierce. They will not stop until justice prevails. Go to kmdlaw.com or call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. If you're in for the fight of your life, stop screwing around and contact KMD Law.
Before Epstein was the Franklin cover-up. Before that, the Finders. And long before that, the Cleveland Street Scandal. Pedogate Primer is a concise intro and overview of a growing child abuse epidemic worldwide. It features shocking instances of institutionalized and organizational pedophilia throughout history. Churches, cults, the world of arts and entertainment, the government, NGOs, charities, and major corporations are all complicit or culprits in many instances. Pedogate Primer delves into material that for many may seem like the stuff of conspiracy theories. For this reason, the book draws on academic resources, declassified documents, and other reliable sources, and steers clear of conjecture. Such shocking true stories need no embellishment.
It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay. Welcome to the Opperman Report. I am your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. Yeah, salt and pepper. Did I spell it right? It's a salt and pepper. Let's see. From the Opperman Report. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Opperman Report. We just got a Patreon. Someone just signed up for Patreon. Let me see. That was a pretty good one. It's like a year's. Let me see if I can find it. Mr. Well, if I say the name, Wanda. Miss Wanda. Okay. When I say that full name, people recognize that name right away. So thank you so much. And this comes at the best time, too, guys, man. We got all these problems. Vic's college is not going to provide her with dorm housing for her final year. So we got to go rent an apartment in D.C. You know what? Maybe I should just move up there for a year with her. Probably be the best solution. We'll figure this out. But and the kid's doing this all on her own, man, finding her own apartment. I guess I did it when I was 21. I moved out when I was I bought my first condo at 19. So I guess it's kind of easier to buy than it is to rent. If we got all the paperwork correct, So anyway, so thank you so much for that membership there. It really helps move things along. So I was telling you about how I met Chris Rock and this girl, Claire, who, what a nightmare it was for this poor girl. So beautiful. Smart girl, but to get mixed up with a nut like me, which I think I got to start warning every woman about that. I just think it's no hope for me, man. Because this is the same girl. Remember that story I told you about with the car and the Puerto Rican Day Parade? Okay. Where I went to buy that Mustang from that Ford dealership. And when we went to go buy it, beautiful Mustang convertible, and brand new off the showroom, And when we went to buy it, it was 98 degrees in New York City, which is very hot and humid for over there. So they were too lazy to go out and inspect the car I was trading in. And when we went down there to pick up the car, all the paperwork was done. We were already registered with the DMV. We already had temporary tags on there. It was my car. I watch this guy go and type something out on the computer and print it out and bring it over to me. He goes, here, sign this. So I look at this thing. Now just imagine, 90 out of 100 guys are probably just thinking, oh, okay, I'll sign it. I look at this thing, and it says, well, we didn't have time to do the inspection of the trade-in, so we're going to take it today, and we'll inspect it later, and if there's anything wrong with it, we'll get back to you. So I says, what, are you kidding me? I'm not signing that. We got a deal. Okay, you gave me the value of the car. We already wrote it down. Okay, we got a done deal here. You've been paid. I got the plates on the car. I'm leaving. So everything goes nuts. And these guys, they tried to pull some stunt, actually, where they blocked me in. They blocked in the car so I couldn't drive away in it. And I had to drive away in my own car, but I still had the keys to their car. No, it's my car. I had the keys to the Mustang. So here's this poor girl, Claire, She comes to New York to visit this crazy guy, who can come off so impressive, And then what's going on with this car? What? You bought a car and they won't give you the car? Why? And then when we're at my apartment over there on Staten Island, the guys from the car dealership actually came by the house trying to pick up the keys to the Mustang. And I almost gave it to him, okay? But I didn't have to. It was my car. So, we went back to the office the next day, and we loaded. I told the whole team, I says, guys, we're working on nothing else but this car. This is all we're working on. So I came up with this idea of going to 7 on Your Side, which is one of those consumer TV news shows, right? So I think I called them up, and I said, "Listen, I got this beef with this car dealership, and you want to do this story?" I said, because my car, this Mustang, was in the Puerto Rican Day Parade. The dealership had loaned the car to the Puerto Rican Day Parade, and I think it was like Miss Puerto Rico was sitting on the car in the parade. And they showed me pictures of it and stuff like that. I said, so you have video of this car in the parade. So when they heard that, they were so excited. They said, yeah, we definitely want to do this story because we already got video and it's in the parade. Walk away. And you sure you're getting ripped off? The guy's ripping you off? I said, yeah, man, I got to go to all paperwork. So they says, okay, write everything down and fax it over to us. Okay? So I type out the whole thing, we read like the whole story, right? And then I tell Christy, okay, my office manager, Christy, take this and fax this to this number right here. 7 on your side. We're getting some action here. Okay. So she faxes it. About 15 minutes later, I get a call from the car dealership. And they start reading this thing, right? That I just wrote. They're reading it word for word. What are you what is this? We blocked you in. We tried to take your keys. We came to your house in the middle of the night. I says, yeah, all that stuff happened, man. That's all 100% real, right? I says, how'd you get that? Because you faxed it over to us. So Christy, by mistake, faxed it over to the car dealership instead of the 7 on your side. But in her defense, I think I gave her the wrong number. I don't think she looked up the number. I think I just pointed at one of the numbers and she just sent it over there. But it wound up working. Okay. I had also gone to my lawyer and he was friends with the owner of the place, so we worked it all out. And how we worked it all out too is, this is, we'll give you your car. We give you your car. You trade in, the car you traded in. You're right. Everything you said was correct. We have a deal. He says, what can we do to make this make this end? And it was kind of funny too, because at the time too, I was opening up an office supply business, a used office equipment business too at the same time. I had the beeper company, all kind of stuff going on. So I had bought all these big, giant fax machines, these big ones, the corporate ones. So when the guy from the owner now of the car dealership calls me up at home, it was like on a Saturday morning, and he wants to work this out with me. I said, look, can I call you back, man? I've been carrying these fax machines upstairs. So this guy, he already got this fax by mistake. Now he's saying, what is this guy doing? He's buying extra fax machines. He's going to fax the whole country. This story about my business, trying to rip him off. So we won that. But the moral of the story is this poor girl, Claire, who leaves Puerto Rico, just wants to have a nice boyfriend who's going to take care of her. He seems like such a nice guy, And then meanwhile, here I am getting into fights with car dealerships. What do you call it? First of all, when we meet, I have 2 dates for our, on the day we met, I had 2 dates, And by the way, too, that chick was crazy. That chick was stalking me the whole night. She left like 30 messages on the hotel voicemail. She was leaving messages on my, beeper and stuff like that, my 800 number. I'm your worst nightmare, she was telling me. So this poor girl, Claire, had to put up with all this stuff with me, all this different times and occasions, the Chris Rock thing. There was another time, too. Oh, my God, I forgot about this. There was another time, too. Because when she would come down, we would drink a lot and we'd party a lot. So you know how sometimes you drink too much and you get blood in your stool? You look down in the toilet, there's some blood in there with your poop. So this was happening to me. And it was one of the worst times I've ever had that happen to me in my life. So she kept telling me, you need to eat some rice and some hot soup. And then you don't drink anything cold after that. You can eat the hot soup and the rice, and then nothing cold after that. You just don't eat anything else. And I said, what are you, crazy? I said, what are you in your Puerto Rico bruja, home remedy, witchcraft, rice and soup? I'm sick. I could have intestinal, internal bleeding here. I said, I'm dying over here. You tell me, I need a doctor. I need a real doctor I can go see. None of your Puerto Rican home remedies. I'm outraged. So I go to see the doctor, right? And too, there was this whole thing too, where one night we were out and I had to go find a toilet, man. I went to these different bars and restaurants and stuff like trying to find like a clean toilet I could use. I couldn't find anything. It was this whole nightmare of the situation. This poor girl. So I go to the doctor and he does the, the smear, all that stuff they do, they check it to see if there's any kind of, and he goes, well, yes, you been partying, you've been drinking a lot, you've been partying a lot, you got whatever that is, and causes blood in your stool. I was, okay, doc, so what do I do? He goes, well, I want you to eat some rice, some white rice, and some hot soup. And I said, what? I said, did she call you? I said, what are you talking about? What do you mean? Look, I'll eat the soup. I'll eat the rice, okay? But I'm leaving this office with a prescription. Okay, I cannot go back to this woman and admit that I'm wrong. She had this way of like, when I would talk, like nodding her head, at me, like in this kind of like superior way, God. Anyway, I wonder what's happened to her. What has become of this beautiful young woman? We got as far away from me as possible. Okay, what's this? Season 1 was how much? Let me check that. Boy, it's been so busy here, man. You have no idea. I'm taping again with Amy Villela. $19. Okay. Running for Congress in Nevada. And she's been a Bernie surrogate and stuff like that. She was Bernie's Medicare for All surrogate, So we have her coming on, too. And then this woman, this reporter in California, it's at war with the L.A. Sheriff's Department. I'm trying to get her to come on. I can't understand what's going on with that, what the big problem there is. So that's about all I have for you tonight. Okay, we covered the assault and battery stuff, the assault and pepper. We covered buying the Coke from Chris Rock. We covered the fetuses winding up in his apartment here. And we covered what was that? I'm pooped, This really has been one of the worst weeks I've had in a long, long time, that's for sure. New trial for Maxwell. Okay. Yeah. This has been a really, really rough week, man. So I know I know I got some crazy, dangerous people out there, messing with me, and I don't even mind that bunch so much. But there's a couple of you characters out there that think you're funny, they think you're funny, and you're doing some kind of shtick. If you could just give me a break for a couple of weeks, because if not, I'm going to track you down and break your neck, okay? That's the next thing, the next step here, all right? And, you leave me no choice, So that's what's going to happen with that. So keep that in mind. I had a whole thing I was going to talk about here, too. There's a couple of things I have coming up that we'll get into. Oh, boy. All right, coming up after this will be Ian Totten about, what's his name? Jimmy Savile. Okay? Good night.
And now a word from our sponsors.
Before Epstein was the Franklin cover-up. Before that, the Finders. And long before that, the Cleveland Street Scandal. Pedogate Primer is a concise intro and overview of a growing child abuse epidemic worldwide. It features shocking instances of institutionalized and organizational pedophilia throughout history. Churches, cults, the world of arts and entertainment, the government, NGOs, charities, and major corporations are all complicit or culprits in many instances. Pedogate Primer delves into material that for many may seem like the stuff of conspiracy theories. For this reason, the book draws on academic resources, declassified documents, and other reliable sources, and steers clear of conjecture. Such shocking true stories need no embellishment.
If you find yourself in need of legal representation, it can be a very stressful time in your life. In my career, I have dealt with thousands of lawyers, I've dealt with thousands of law firms, and I can confidently recommend to you Keith M. Davidson at kmdlaw.com. Available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Just log into kmdlaw.com. That's kmdlaw.com. Or you can call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. That's 833-4KMD-LAW. Personal injury, wrongful death, STDs, sexual assault, car accidents, they handle it all efficiently and professionally. It doesn't matter how imposing the opposition may be, because the team at KMDlaw.com are battle-tested and fierce. They will not stop until justice prevails. Go to kmdlaw.com or call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. If you're in for the fight of your life, stop screwing around and contact KMD Law. The Opperman Report is brought to you by Aquadam.net. You can give them a call at 707-764-2119. A flooded home is never easy to deal with. You're left with the mess to clean up, the insurance companies to deal with, and not to mention all the memories, the precious memories that are lost in the flood. You can never replace those. And Aquadam can be a tool in your arsenal to protect your home and property from the floodwaters. The cofferdam is filled with water to control water and is reusable as long as it's taken care of. It can protect your home or business from rising floodwaters like a dam, but without the beavers. It can also be used in construction. If you need an area to be dewatered, an Aquadam can do the job. An Aquadam was used at SeaWorld in Orlando for the Mako roller coaster ride during the coaster's construction by dewatering the work area. An Aquadam is now dewatering the work area at San Antonio SeaWorld for their newest roller coaster ride. An Aquadam has been used in many construction projects all around the U.S. and all around the world. Now give Aquadam a call, 707-764-2119. You can look them up online at aquadam.net. You can find them on Facebook at Aquadam Inc. You call them up, you email them, you tell them Ed Opperman sent you, and they're going to take 10% off the price. Aquadam.net, 707-764-2119.